there are going to be some beneficial effects of phones that we may be losing out on. But I think the harms greatly outweigh the benefits in the K-12 setting, which is why I'm confident about this policy. LAUSD has had a policy on the books since 2011 that technically doesn't allow student cell phone use in class, but it's not really well enforced. It's up to individual teachers. A lot of teachers and schools have just given up because someone else is not enforcing it. And so the reason I say I want it to be really strict is I want to take enforcement out of the hands of individual teachers and really even schools so that we can focus on learning and kids can focus on being kids. And so while there is discretion in the policy to allow schools to choose their enforcement mechanism, whether that's pouches or lockers, or at the elementary school level, maybe it's just you can't bring a phone to school. The idea is that the entire school day will be phone free. Now, there's instructional technology that students have in LA, their tablets or their laptops. And I think most of the accommodations that I envision in the policy for things like translation services or kids with disabilities, you can use that district-given technology for. In the rare instance where you need a phone, I'm open to contemplating that, but I really think that, once you start opening that door, it cracks too open too quickly. And the idea is really to just, get student smartphones, smartwatches, social media out of the school day. I do anticipate some pushback from parents. We've already been engaging parents both in the process of creating this resolution, and the implementation calls for a few months of engagement. And I will say that this ban would go into effect in January. It's the second semester of the next school year. And that was very intentional because I wanted not only a semester for schools to figure out their enforcement mechanism, but I also wanted schools to build buy-in. Katherine Johnson STEM Academy in Westchester, that principal has up on their website all the research around this. And he really spent some time getting parent buy-in to understand why this is so important, both for academics, but also for social emotional growth. There are a lot of things I think that we teach at school that we don't have kids practice. And one that comes to mind, as salacious as it may be, is sex education. We teach sex ed, we don't encourage kids to try it during the school day. And I'm not being completely facetious because I think that is true with cell phones. We do have instructional technology in LAUSD. Every kid has a device. And as part of now a critical media literacy curriculum that I actually brought the resolution for a few years ago, they're learning things like fake news and sponsored content and news. And they can do that on their district approved devices. And they can also talk about the harms of social media without having to be on them. And, again, we are asking kids to put your phone away for 6 hours out of a 24-hour day. But I do hope that we can kind of start with our children in a culture that doesn't need to be glued to our phones all the time, while still talking about how to be good digital citizens and maybe practicing on their own time.